Hello, I'm Kads and welcome to today's video. Now, despite the lovely purple hue, we are actually not going to be pulling any shards. Yes, it is another episode of a shardless champion chase. So in this case, we're not pulling with a purpose, and we'll talk about the logic therein in a little bit here, but let's hop over to the champion chase so we know, so we can level set why we're here in this situation. So 3,000 points, you can see here whenever it loads is where the fragments are for the epic, for the fusion. And that's basically all I need to do. It probably will be tempting to do something after what we discussed today to get out to the legendary tome at 4,100, but that is not mandatory. But, you know, I have, thousands of mystery shards, so I can definitely close the gap if I need to. But anyways, I was expecting something around like 2,500, 2,600, so 3,000 is kind of in that ballpark. It's a little bit higher, obviously, but it's not ridiculously high. And you do get a lot of credit for the fusion epics because they are voids in this case, so it's 350 per instead of 250 per. So with that in mind, let's hop over to that section and just fuse 3 copies of the fusion epic. You can see here 300, I was about to say 3,000. You can see here 300 out of 100, so we have 3 copies of the epic, and yes, I am ahead because of the fragments from the bonus summon rush, so that's why we're doing this on Saturday. It doesn't really matter when we do this, I guess, in fairness, because we're not pulling voids at all, and it is 2x on voids. I honestly, fun fact, I've seen a few members, like 3 or 4 members of my clan cluster actually get the 10x champion, which is kind of awesome for them. So interesting that he floats. I heard that he floated from some of the other CCs. Whoa, where'd it go? Where'd you go? Okay, to make sure we're summoning the right thing here. All right, so 3 Slixes, or Slixi, however you would say that. So 350 per is 1,050 points. So part of the reason I ended up going the shardless route, as we'll talk through a little bit here, is that I knew that I would get 3 of the fusion epics, which, like I said, is 1,000 points. So it's a 1/3 of the champion chase. And then I already knew that I wanted to summon Varl, so we'll go ahead and summon him. I do want to use him in hard Hydra. I was going to summon him a couple of weeks ago for the same purpose, but they got rid of the champion chase that weekend and in place of a hero's path, which is effectively a summon rush, which meant that this wouldn't have counted, and so I had to wait 2 weeks in order to actually summon him. So that put us at 1,500 points, and then we did manage to finish the Tatsu section of the fusion, so we'll go ahead and do that as well. But as I've mentioned before, I already have Kira the Watcher. I just got her from a random pull, maybe a POGO if I remember correctly. But I've already leveled her up and ascended her to level 60, so she's ready to go for the fusion. But because I don't like sacrificing legendaries that I don't have necessarily, I'm still going to wait until I can fuse a copy of her to keep her. But with that in mind, I do want Tatsu ready to go, because effectively all I would need to do is just level up the 2 epics that I don't have to level 50, and I'd be able to fuse Lady Mikage whenever I wanted. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and summon our Tatsu here. So that is another 1 million. Oh man, painful. But that's another 500 points, so that brings us to 2,000. So that's where my mind was at, was that I knew I could get 3 of the fusion epics, and I had 2 legendaries to summon for free effectively, and so I knew I was going to start off regardless of what the milestone was at 2,000. And if it was 2,500, super easy to get there. If it's 3,000, again, it's not as far as possible. But in order to make it even more simple, we are going to do a couple of remnant summons here, and we'll just see what we get. I'm expecting 2 epics, so again, bare minimum, this is worth 500 points, which will bring us all the way up to about 2,500, meaning that I could just do 500 mystery shards and kind of call it a day, or maybe more if I decide to go for the legendary tome. But also note here that we are at 295 on the remnant summons here, meaning that I will obviously get a 3rd with a little, probably today, as far as going a little bit further in the cursed city. So let's just go ahead and see what we can get from these. Oh gosh, we got another mythical. No. Oh no. Oh, after all of that discussion about the plan to get Lady Mikage, and we just pull her from a remnant summon. Yeah, oh man, I was just gonna say that, like, last time we did this we got a mythical, but surely that won't happen again. It's only a 2.5% chance, and okay, we were kind of wrong on that one. Well, I guess we might as well talk about why she's so good. And honestly, I remember, like, a lot of people were kind of down on her when she was coming out, but or before she came out, but after she's added to the game, a lot more people were a fan of her. So on the A1 here, can bring in a random ally from the Shadowkin to ally attack with her, and it also places a shield on the lowest HP target, kind of like a Duchess on the A1. Then here, this does like everything under the sun, but it's attacks all enemies, decreases the duration of all enemy buffs and ally debuffs by 1 turn, and then increases the duration of all enemy debuffs and ally buffs for 1 turn. So basically, every single buff extension and debuff extension ability combined into one, positive and negative. And then negative for the enemies, positive for your allies. And then the all ally attack here with increased attack and increased crit damage. Really, really useful. This passive here, at the start of her turn, she'll fully cleanse the ally with the highest attack, so she can just basically keep them free of any debuffs, as long as they're the highest attack on your team. And then the alt form, which is the one that you've probably seen the most in Arena, if you have, because she just basically denies you so many turns, which I've noticed. But she has the Bug Zapper A1, which is a sleep, 100% chance to land. I guess it could be resisted, but she can also ignore resistance here on the A1 if you book it, so it can be very, very strong. Decreases the turn meter by 50%. And then here, AoE attack places a stun, and then also decreases the turn meter after the stun of 30%. You know, so again, more turn meter suppression. And then here, kind of a upgraded Ran the Conjurer ability, so increased accuracy on all enemies, on all allies, and then full buff strip, and then weaken. So great setup for bombs if you want to use it that way, but also just good for getting rid of buffs. And then on the passive here, if that wasn't enough turn meter control, at the start of her turn, she just decreases the enemy with the highest attack by 50%. So you're nuker, you're about to go. No, you're not. I took a turn. It's just, it is honestly so oppressive. She's almost like Siffy level suppression on the alt form. But yeah, there you go. We got our 5th mythical champion from, or overall, and then our 2nd from a remnant summon, which is kind of crazy. So while I was rambling there, I guess we should have the updated numbers for the champion chase. And this kind of changes the entire plan, because that should put us at 3,500 for sure. If my math is correct. Oh no, sorry, that'll put us at 3,000. There we go. That's the correct math. 2,500 would have been where we were if we got 2 epics from 2 remnant summons. So we're at 3,000. I honestly could stop here and just do the rest with Mystery Shard, but I kind of want to stick to the original plan at least and just do the last remnant summon just to make it a little bit easier. So 250 Mystery Shards instead of as many as I had before. Crowd the blue. We'll take that. That's empowerment for my Crowd. I do use them in hard mode Fire Knight stage 6. Potentially stage 10 if we can incorporate Mikage into the team. But yeah, so that's interesting. So I guess we get 2 Lady Mikages long term, which is interesting. I'll have to think about my prioritization now, because I honestly did not expect that to happen again. Back to back from remnant summons. It's kind of crazy. I think I've pulled like, what, 12 maybe? I had a lot more last time, but I've only pulled a handful, and we've gotten 2 mythicals from it, which is kind of crazy. So I guess we are indeed the mythical whisperer. But the downside here, I guess I'll keep you guys for a little bit longer, but the downside here is that I only have 5 mythical tomes, and I guess that means what? That I can only book like 1 of her forms. And I don't know, I want the base form because of the ally attack, because that's going to be really useful, but I might not need that to be booked immediately, because I guess if I'm really thinking about it, because I wanted to use her in Hard Mode Fire Knight to try and push for stage 10, just because bringing in all allies compared to Farrakhan the Fat, who I currently use for stage 6, not bringing in himself, it kind of matters when you're trying to add up as many hits as possible. But in theory, I really only need the ally attack once with the composition I'm running, in theory. And so maybe I could just run her unbooked and kind of see what that does, and then just deal with the rest of her abilities. And so Form 2 is where I would really, really like to use my books if I can get away with it. Oh, you have to book her passive too? Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. But so yeah, this ability is nice because it'd be a good setup for bomb champions, and I do love me some bomb champions, but I think this is the, bread and butter for alt form is the big honking AoE stun with the turn meter decrease that is so oppressive in live arena. I get destroyed by her so often because like the enemies will draft like Armands and then Mikage, and it's like, well, pick your poison. Which one is going to deny you a turn? So I banned the Armands, but then we just get controlled to death by Mikage and turn meter controlled death. So anyways, yeah, I guess it's worth noting that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, so I can't fully book the alternate form either. So I guess we're on the hunt for one mythical tome, at least to guarantee that we can do all of her alt form stuffs, and then we'll just deal with the fact that she's a little bit underpowered on the base form. All right, well, we've done it again, folks. We got another mythical from a remnant summon during a shardless summon session, so maybe this is the trick. If anyone was curious, I'm gonna try and basically put all of my Armanza's gear onto my Lady Mikage. Not immediately, but eventually that's the plan, because I do want to rebuild Armand's into supersonic, just so he can be perhaps a little bit slower than he is right now. Or I guess we can check that real quickly. 315 speed, 664 in the accuracy. But he might be a little bit slower, but he has the ability to cut in with the 4-piece supersonic, so I'd kind of like that. The cut in Armand's ability, especially with temporal chains. Really good against like a Siphi and stuff like that. But I don't have that gear for him yet. I don't have the 4 pieces of supersonic that are synergistically strong enough to be a cohesive set. But that's probably the plan in the long term, is as far as gearing, to put her in that gear. Maybe with some tweaks depending on whether I probably don't want like the accuracy chest on Mikage, something like that. So they're gonna be, give and a take as far as building her. But yeah, so we got her. We got the Tatsu Epic for the formerly important Lady Mikage fusion. I don't know how to think about that, because I kind of changed my priorities, because now that I have her, do I really need the second copy? What would you guys do? Let me know in the comment section down below. What would you do with the second copy of Mikage? I doubt many people are in that situation. I know like Erroneous is, for example. But yeah, let me know what you would do with the second Mikage. I'm probably not going to build the second one, because again, we're basically at a legendary or a mythical tomes, so that's not going to happen. But yeah, let me know what you would do if you're in my situation. But she will be sacrificed, the Tatsu that is, and then Varl will be built up for some shenanigans in Hard Hydra. So stay tuned for that video, probably in the next couple of weeks, depending on how quickly I can get that team up and running for a showcase. If you did manage to actually pull something from your voids, if you're pulling voids for this weekend, let me know what you got in the comment section down below. And of course, as always, if you did enjoy the video, then be sure to hit that like button down below, and feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content just like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.